Okay, now we talk about, still talking about the factors, of course, that affect the components of aggregate demand. We talked already about the factors that, determinant of consumption, factors that are determinant of investment. Now let's talk about the factors that affect net exports. So factors affecting net exports. Net exports, of course, exports minus imports. Okay, exports minus imports. Of course, here, we need to talk about the main factors that affect net exports. Of course, we're talking about here two important factors. First one is foreign real national income. Of course, when we say foreign real national income, we mean that the national income in the foreign country when it is adjusted for changes in the price level. So here we mean the foreign national income when it is adjusted for the changes in the price level. Of course, when the foreign real national income increases, this means that foreigners are able to purchase the domestic goods. So purchasing the domestic goods means that domestic exports will increase, which implies that net export will increase ceteris paribus. That is assuming that imports stay the same. Imports stay the same. So we say that foreign real national income. Foreign real national income, of course, foreign when foreign real national income increases, this implies, okay, foreigners are able to purchase our domestic goods. Which implies exports increase. That implies net export increase, ceteris paribus. That is assuming that there is no increase no change in inputs. So when that takes place, net export increase, and net exports, of course, is a component of aggregate demand. Therefore, when net export increases, When net export increase, that implies aggregate demand will increase. Aggregate demand increase, that implies it shifts to the right. Same thing, this process, can work in reverse, okay? We could say when foreign real national income decreases, that means foreigners are not able to purchase our domestic goods, which implies, exports will go down, which implies net export will decrease, ceteris paribus, of course, and that implies, aggregate demand will decrease, so it shifts to the left. Okay, so this is, one factor that affects the net export. Of course, the other factor that affects net export is exchange rate. Exchange rate. So what actually we mean when we say exchange rate? Of course, exchange rate is the price of one currency in terms of another currency. For example, you know, 100,000 Lebanese lira may be bought for $1 or maybe exchanged for $1. This is the exchange rate. So each 100,000 Lebanese pound or lira is exchanged for $1. This is the exchange rate. Okay? Now, here we have to talk about two important terms or concepts. We say that a currency has depreciated in value if more of it is needed to purchase a foreign one. Okay? This is a currency has depreciated in value if more of it is needed to purchase a foreign one. For example, let's say the exchange rate changes from, let's say, 100,000 Lebanese pound equal $1 to 200,000 Lebanese pound equal $1. What that means? It means now we need more Lebanese pounds to purchase a foreign currency, namely the dollar. Before, each 100,000 Lebanese pound is equivalent to $1. Now, it has become, 200,000. You need 200,000 Lebanese pound to come up with $1. Therefore, more domestic currency, more national currency is needed to purchase a foreign currency. Therefore, here we say that the Lebanese currency has depreciated, and the American dollar has appreciated. Why appreciated? Because less of it is needed to purchase the national currency. Now, this process, of course, can work in reverse. Okay? We could say a currency has appreciated. We say a currency has depreciated. The currency has appreciated in value, of course. If what? If more of the foreign currency is needed to buy it. For example, now we're talking about appreciation in value. It means more of the foreign currency is needed to purchase the domestic currency. For instance, a change in the exchange rate from 100,000 Lebanese lira equal $1 to, of course, 50,000 Lebanese lira equal $1. So it means what? Now, instead of paying 100,000 Lebanese pound or Lebanese lira to buy $1, now you pay only 50,000 Lebanese lira to purchase a dollar. So that's why we say here that the Lebanese currency has appreciated and the dollar currency has depreciated in value, in this case over here. Okay? Now, of course, depreciation in the currency makes foreign goods more expensive. How is that? Let's give you an example. Consider an American luggage okay, that is priced at $100. When what? When the exchange rate between the Lebanese currency and the American currency, between the US and Lebanon, is 100,000 Lebanese pound equal $1. So, talking about here that we're gonna see that depreciation makes foreign goods more expensive. And give an example over here of an American watch, luggage. Assume that the price of that luggage is $100 when the exchange rate is between the Lebanese pounds and the American dollar is 100 Lebanese pounds or Lebanese lira equal $1. So a Lebanese citizen, if he wants to buy this luggage, has to pay how much? Has to pay 10 million Lebanese pounds. So a Lebanese citizen has to pay 10 million to purchase what? To purchase this luggage. At this exchange rate. Which is 100,000 Lebanese lira equal $1. Now, what happens when, of course, when the exchange rate changes to what? We're talking about depreciation. So now, when the exchange rate depreciates to 200,000 Lebanese lira equal $1. Now the Lebanese citizen has to pay how much to buy this luggage? He has to pay 20 million Lebanese lira. The Lebanese citizen has to pay 20 million Lebanese lira to purchase this luggage. When what? When the exchange rate has changed to 200,000 Lebanese lira equal $1. So when the national currency has depreciated in value, it means that the foreign goods and services become more expensive. Now the Lebanese citizen has to pay 20 million Lebanese lira to purchase this luggage. Therefore, depreciation in the national currency makes foreign goods, more expensive. Now, the same thing, of course, is, can, happen. Similar things can happen when the currency has appreciated. So, if the currency has appreciated, if the domestic currency has appreciated, instead of, for instance, 100,000 Lebanese pound equal $1, now it has become 50,000 Lebanese pounds equal $1. So that implies the Lebanese currency has appreciated in value because more because less of it is needed to purchase the foreign currency. So in this case, we're talking about appreciation. That implies here, instead now, what you see here, when you say appreciation, it implies that the Lebanese citizen has to pay less. Now, if the exchange rate has become 50,000 Lebanese pound equal $1, then at that exchange rate, the Lebanese citizen has to pay 5 million, Lebanese lira to purchase this luggage. Okay? So, here the message is that depreciation and appreciation affects net exports. So, therefore, depreciation and appreciation in the national currency affect net exports. Depreciation in the domestic currency or national currency increases exports and decreases imports. This implies net export increases, which implies aggregate demand increases. That implies it shifts to the right. So when there is a depreciation in the domestic currency or the national currency, that implies, the domestic goods become cheaper, okay? So that, makes foreign citizen to purchase more of our domestic goods, okay? Therefore, exports will increase, okay? And our imports will decrease because, there is a depreciation in the domestic currency. Therefore, we're going to experience less imports. So, as a result, of course, net exports will increase. Okay? Now, an appreciation in the domestic currency of course, will increase, imports and decrease exports. That implies net exports decreases, okay, which implies aggregate demand will decrease. That means it shifts to the left. So from this example here, we can see that depreciation in the currency and depreciation and appreciation will have a big effect on net exports, and therefore it has effect on the aggregate demand. Here, of course, we're gonna talk about the money supply. The question is that can a change in the money supply changes the aggregate demand? It looks that many economists say yes, agree that a change in demand and supplies can affect or change the aggregate demand. Remember, we already said that there are many factors that affect aggregate demand. For instance, interest rate, exchange rate, business taxes, and so on and so forth. These indirectly affect the aggregate demand by directly affecting consumption, investment, net export, and so on and so forth. So, the money supply, can change aggregate demand. The money supply, as you will see later on when we study about the money in a couple of chapters from now, from this chapter, the money supply, it changes the interest rate. A change in the money supply, of course, usually, of course, here, let me say, can a change in the money supply changes the aggregate demand. Of course, many economists say yes. Remember, as I said, we said many factors that affect consumption, investment, net export, and so on and so forth. So these factors, of course, affect aggregate demand indirectly. By what? By affecting, consumption, investment, and net exports direct. So the money supply can change the interest rate, Usually the money supply curve is represented as a vertical curve. That's the money supply. And this is the interest rate, and this is the money here. And usually is represented by, money supply. This is the amount of the money. Okay, because the money supply is determined by the central bank. So it is known. And you see the intersection of the money supply and money demand, which is a downward sloping, this is money demand. So the intersection will determine the interest rate. Okay, this is I0, the interest rate, the initial interest rate at the intersection of the money demand, which is downward sloping, and the money supply, which is vertical. Now, a change in the money supply, of course, it will have an effect on the interest rate. So here we say a change in the money supply will have an effect on interest rate. Because when the money supply increases, let's say increases to here, M1. Okay, so what happens to the interest rate? This is money supply. This is M1, or M0, this is M1. Okay, what happens to the interest rate? Goes down. Okay, so when the money supply increases from M0 to M1, what happens to the interest rate? It will decrease. So a change in money supply will have an effect on the interest rate, whether it increase or decrease. Okay, now an increase, a change in the interest rate has an effect on consumption and investment. And a change in consumption and investment has an effect on aggregate demand. Therefore, a change in the money supply, therefore, a change in the money supply will eventually has an effect on the aggregate demand curve.